If you do a search on the internet for the design cycle, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of these infographics, which are not necessarily about graphic design, but just about creation in its process. And the design cycle really represents the planning, the development of ideas, the creation of the final work, and then that evaluation, be it continuous, and then obviously at the end of your project, evaluating it and seeing if your product is now fit for purpose. And then these infographics are just visual reminders of the summary, and then also perhaps the very specific things that you might do for your project. So they're all kind of roughly the same, but they will change project to project. And I would like to see you developing one of these and developing it for your specific project. So it should go hand in hand with your proposal. But I think just as an added extra, you can certainly do one by hand, and it'd be really nice to see one by hand. But I'd like to show you how you could create something like this infographic in Illustrator. So this exercise is to show you how it's quite easy to actually produce something like this. And then what actually goes into the infographic, you will need to decide. So the first thing is a new document. And what I'm going to do in that document is just paste in a rough copy of an existing cycle, just so that I can get a picture of it. And if you have a look at it, you'll see it's divided into 4 areas: planning, development, solution, and evaluation. And then it breaks down into 4 further areas per section. So we've got 16 areas here and 4 areas here. I'm going to lock this and create a fresh layer. And then what I'm going to do is I'm looking for a tool called the Polar Grid tool. Now, the way that the new setup is, they've kind of put the most popular tools under Essentials here. The Polar Grid seems to be missing. So it's going to be in this drop-down menu here. The 3 dots are going to show me additional tools that I can use. Now, I could just drag it out and put it into my palette, or I could actually ask for the whole advanced set. So I'm just going to ask for advanced tools. This little double arrow here allows me to fatten it up to 2 sides. And then I'm going to look for my Polar Grid tool, which should be underneath my line tool. And there it is, Polar Grid. Notice you've also got a rectangular grid, and there's also a spiral and an arc tool. Now, if I just draw it out, it's going to draw the last grid that I ever made. Okay, so it's going to just give me exactly the same as the setup I made before. So if I need something a bit more complex than that, then what I need to do is double click the Polar Grid tool, and then I can tell it exactly what dimensions that I need, or I can draw it, I still draw it out, but tell it the number of radial dividers, that's these ones coming out here. Okay, and how many concentric dividers I need, which are these here. Now I need 2 concentric, I need to add 2 concentric, so there'll be 1 here and 1 here, and that will put this one into the correct position. And then I need, if you remember I counted this was 16 subdivisions in total, so I need 16 of those, and I want 2 of those. Now when I draw it, I'm going to hold Shift. It sort of matches that design now. So I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to let go of the mouse. Always let go of your mouse, otherwise it will distort, and then the keyboard. Now I need to eliminate some of this, these line segments inside, but they're all connected together. So even if I take the direct selection tool and click one of them, it's an entire segment. So if I just try to delete this, it's going to delete everything. The way I'm going to grab the segments is I'm actually going to use a tool that sits underneath the direct selection tool. So this one here, the lasso tool. That's going to allow me to grab sections. The lasso tool in Illustrator works very, very differently and it's really about identifying parts of an image that I want to manipulate or delete. And in particular, it's about grabbing anchor points. If you had a very, very complex drawing and you were trying to get in and make some changes, it's really hard sometimes to get hold of individual parts of the drawing. So this allows me to grab areas and select them. But before I can actually do any of that, I need to just cut it all up so that I can grab the bits that I want to delete very easily. So I'm going to take the whole of the design, and I'm going to work with Pathfinder. Pathfinder, and in particular divide. So with everything selected, hit divide, and then I can just click away. I can come back with my lasso tool and just mark off these segments. I know I want to get rid of all of this here, so I can just grab it all and delete. And there, that looks a bit more like this product. So I'm just going to grab all of those and delete. And likewise. So now I've got my kind of segments. What I can do is two things. I can come back in and recolor. And probably the easiest way to do the recoloring is once again to select everything. And now go to your live paint bucket. Once again, if you're in the basic setup, live paint bucket is hidden under the three dots. So I would get the advanced up. If you don't do that and you choose to have a smaller tools palette, it's really about grabbing the tool that you want and dragging it and placing it in the panel. So you can make up a panel that works for you. I'm going to use my swatches as well. And I'm going to pick a library. So I want to work with a color book, and that will give me a gradation. So I'm going to work with Pantone Coated. And if you recall, you need to have everything selected for the live paint group, and then you have to click once to make the live paint group active. Now all of these areas are really easy for me to color. That's the whole purpose of live paint, was to make all those tricky cross lines available to you for a single color. And then I'm just going to choose color pathways. So I'm going to start with yellow over here and just work my way back. So strong yellow there, maybe a bit lighter. And then just keep dropping down the color tones, maybe even skipping one or two, as I'm creating a gradation between the colours. Something like that. Let's go even paler. And let's put that one there. Put that one there. So I'm going to go ahead and fill all of this. Okay, so now I want to move on. The only extra thing that I've done to this is I've grabbed the design and I've given it a white stroke. So I brought the stroke forward, given it a white stroke, and I fattened the stroke up as well. So under properties, you can actually determine the color, and then you can also determine the stroke size too. So I'll just fatten that up a little bit. And particularly if I put this against a color now, it would look really, really nice. Now I've accidentally selected this middle bit as well. So I'm just going to drop the stroke down. But accidentally I've stroked the box, and I quite like that, so I'm going to leave it. Be open to errors. Sometimes they work in your favour. So I'm going to lock everything now, and the final thing that I wanted to show you was just when you're applying your typography in an infographic, you certainly want to make it readable, and so therefore you might have everything orientated in this direction, and then that would be fairly easy to do. But I just wanted to show you, in case you didn't, in case you wanted it to look like this and actually to travel around, you may want it for a different reason, then I just wanted to show you how to do that. So I'm going to again just create a fresh layer, and I'm going to put some type in the first box up here. So I'll put my type on a fresh layer, locked everything else, and now I just want to orientate it so that it meets the top. I'm just going to turn it, and you can kind of get a picture. If I bring all the lowercase up, you can kind of see that's kind of correct, maybe a little bit off. Now what we've got to consider is how is it going to pivot all the way around? How am I going to copy it and make it match this rotation all the way around? If I just copied it now, it wouldn't do that. Okay, it's a straightforward block of text, and you wanted to orientate it this way. That's no problem at all. All I'm doing is Alt or Option dragging, so that's not a problem. So what we need to address is the pivot point. Okay, if I turn this, you'll see it's pivoting around the center of the word. So that's not going to really help us very much. What we want to do is to make the pivot point for that word all the way down here. So I'm going to turn off this design here. Then I'm going to make sure everything else is locked and I've only got the word selected itself. And then I'm going to click the rotate tool, come over to where I would like it to rotate around, and that's going to be the center of this diagram. I'm going to hold down Option or Alt on our PC and click. Okay, that's going to give me this dialog box. It's going to show me the next position for the word if I copied it based on this angle. Now what I've got to get right is the angle, and you could fiddle with it till you see whether it's going to work or not, or you could try and figure it out. I know I have 16 sections. I'm going to use my trusty calculator to say 360 divided by 16, and that gives me 22.5. So let's try 22.5. And then I'm just going to hit the copy button, and you'll see that's put it into position here. Now that rotate is really a similar thing to going to Object Transform Rotate, except it's a nice little shortcut. So it's just select the word, select Rotate, and then you Option click and choose your angle, but hit copy instead of OK, and you'll get your first copy. Now I don't need to keep doing that because if I hold down Command and press the letter D, it's going to repeat the last thing I did. So I can keep doing that all the way around. And it's just a nice quick way to get this diagram fulfilled with the typography. And that's it really. Then I just designed a little center plate for it here, and then you're going to populate it with the information that you're going to show me. Okay, but remember, as a design element, you know, having it rotate may not be the most perfect idea. You might want to show this and then say why you wouldn't do it. So do it as a practical exercise. Here it's much more readable because it just sits within the boundaries of the boxes, but it's still orientated horizontally.